Welcome to SheEO with Sophie. Just a quick note from me. If you like what you hear, go ahead and join the SheEO Club right now by hitting that subscribe button. Not only will you never miss an episode, but you'll also be helping us out more than you know. Thank you and enjoy. Today's guest is Marisa Santisi, executive leader, cultural trailblazer, and champion for ambitious women. With over 25 years driving billion-dollar growth, pioneering enterprise AI strategies, and transforming organizations from the inside out, Marisa knows what it takes to rise and lead at the highest levels. Born in Guatemala as the oldest and only girl in a family of four, she's learned grit, discipline, and the power of standing her ground early on. Now, as VP of Business Systems and Enterprise Analytics at Booz Allen and one of the top 100 most influential global Hispanic leaders in technology, she's on a mission to help women turn their unique stories into leadership superpowers. In this conversation, Marisa reveals how to lead with authenticity, spark change with courage, and climb without compromise. Let's dive in today. Hi, Marissa. Welcome to the podcast. It is great to have you here today.
Thank you. Likewise, I'm excited to be here.
Yes, no, I can't wait to get going. And I literally cannot wait to hear about your background and your story. I know we've spoken before, you sent some stuff over to me, and honestly, I think it's pretty inspirational. So this will be good. So let's start there. Let's get a little bit of a background to who you are.
Sure, yes. I am the oldest of five siblings. I grew up in Guatemala, born and raised there. I am also the only girl. So I have four brothers. So as you can imagine, I grew up in a pretty competitive setting where I had to hold my own. I had to fight for my space, and that really led me to develop skills like grit, fighting for my spot at the table, fighting for who's going to go shotgun in a car. And over time, I have now realized that that shaped who I am now. And I was almost in practice mode, if you will, as I was growing up. And it has served me well as I have progressed in my career. So I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love to hear a little bit more around what you're doing now, but where you've got to.
Yes, I am currently at Booz Allen. I am the Vice President of Business Systems and Analytics. And my team is responsible for all of the corporate systems. So we like to say that we make Booz Allen run, really everything from people systems to finance, contracts, legal systems, et cetera, are managed by my team. And then the other side of the equation is all things data and analytics, from enterprise reporting, external financial reporting, predictive analytics, and now, of course, AI. We can't get through a podcast without saying that word now. It is everywhere. It's exciting. And I'm really happy to be in the forefront and in the middle of it, really, with
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Yeah. How did you get into tech, actually?
Um, I always liked technology, and I remember thinking when I was in high school and starting to think about what to do. At the time, boys would certainly be pushed to be engineers, and you know, I never thought myself of as a true engineer. My dad was always an entrepreneur. My mom was very business minded as well, and and I wanted a combination of something that was technology and business. And I didn't even know that there was a major at the time that was already doing that. And went to a college counselor in my high school, and I explained, what I wanted, and he goes, "Oh, there's a new major called management information systems. You should try that." So then we really looked for schools that were offering that new major at the time, which now, of course, is not new. but that's how I ended up in tech, is was really through school. And of course, then, my very first job out of school was with system implementations at Ernst and Young, and the rest is history, I guess.
I don't think when I was back at school, we really spoke about tech as being like
Yeah.
something I could do. Like we called it like ICT or something like that. And yeah, it just wasn't really for me. I remember just playing games like in the classes, like on the PCs. That was all I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
it's
it's
definitely
certainly
changed.
computer science, I feel like, was a thing for sure.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine myself as just a true coder.
Yeah.
So I needed to be a little bit more on the business side. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think as well, obviously, I work in the world of recruitment and focusing on technology, business change, those sort of things. But especially when you're younger, I don't think you're aware of all the different types of roles there are within technology. You don't have to just be a coder. And I think if I knew that when I was younger, I probably would have been like, oh, okay, so I can be a program manager within tech. I can do all these different roles that don't mean that I have to be coding or being like infrastructure support. There is a lot out there, right?
Yes, yes, agreed. And what really opened my eyes was when like I was saying, I joined Ernst and Young Consulting, and then got to see exactly what you're saying, that there are many ways to be involved in tech. There are many ways to influence technology, and that there are many ways that companies need help with technology. And then you would kind of travel from project to project and get to see different companies, and started to realize, I think I can actually help them. And I really thought I would be a consultant for my entire career. And things have evolved a little bit, but in a certain way, I've always been a consultant.
Yeah, I always say working in a consultancy, I've worked with many consultancies, but you do get like the breadth of
Yes.
the kind of different types of roles within the industry. You can figure out what you like. And it's great when you go into some of these grad programs where you can literally go between the different jobs to see where you fit and what you enjoy. So it's a
Yes.
great starting to any career.
Yes. Yes. I definitely would recommend it.
And I want to go back because growing up in Guatemala, obviously want to hear about that, but obviously being the only girl among four siblings, how did that shape you to become a leader and who you are today?
What I've realized is it gave me a desire to, not ever back down. I have people that ask me, I'm in IT, right? So it's not just tech, and you walk into a room and it's full of men. How do you feel? And my answer is, I don't really feel any different. I feel like I'm the same. And in fact, maybe to the point of being naive about it, and maybe they are seeing me different, but I really don't have that feeling. I walk into a room with a sense that I'm going to be at the table just like everybody else, that I'm going to bring my perspectives like everybody else. And as I've matured in my career, I have realized that my perspectives are indeed different. I may bring a different perspective simply because I'm a woman and I'm going to be thinking about things with a slightly different lens, and also a perspective because I didn't grow up here, although now I've spent 30 years here in the US. I still have a perspective that not everybody's going to have. Growing up in a small country where not everything is as readily available as it is here, you do have to kind of fight for your own, work hard, and also travel through cultural barriers where maybe the male presence and the male influence is even bigger than here, right? So having to travel through that, I think, has given me that perspective.
Yeah. I love the fact that you just don't see it as any different. You're like, yeah, I'm just going into a room with anyone else. But I suppose when you've grown up with multiple brothers, you're used to being in, a very male dominant environment, like a
Yes.
household. So what's the
Yes.
difference exactly?
Interestingly, I also have two sons. So
Wow, you are just yeah. I mean, but that's great
yes.
though. It's great, and you
Yeah.
also get to understand how they think, and that will hopefully help you with your career. And I think culturally, I think it's really important for companies to have different people within the leadership space because,
Yes.
like you rightly said, everyone has a different background, and you can bring something to the table. Especially if you're going into new markets, you can understand well. this country, this place, we're going to think differently to, America, UK, wherever it may be. And I think that's really important that not everyone realizes, but it's something that I'm seeing more and more like, okay, cool, we need diversity
Agreed.
as a whole to make sure that we're
Agreed.
in line with the world that's ever changing.
Yes. Yes, yes. And it can really be a business advantage when you start to think about how easily it comes to you that people may think differently, that one size doesn't fit all, or one answer may not be the right one for everyone. Something that seems so incredibly obvious in one setting is not going to be obvious in another. People have asked me, right, is it specific to being Hispanic or from Guatemala or a woman? I think it doesn't matter what the difference is. It's more about what are the traits or that you've learned throughout your upbringing that give you a slightly different perspective. And it may be that you grew up here, but you went through certain circumstances that also give you a different empathetic lens that maybe others don't have, that you should just embrace and know that bringing that perspective is actually going to help make better decisions.
Yeah, I agree. And I know when we spoke before, and even just then, you're saying culture is not a barrier, but a business advantage.
Yes.
And I completely agree. You've kind of unpacked that a little bit there for us. But how has your cultural identity served you in the boardrooms or on strategic decision making?
I have at times felt like, okay, there's some pressure to represent.
Mm,
Um, which I don't know that it's totally real, or it may be self-imposed, but it has definitely helped push me to make sure that I am representing women, Hispanics, underrepresented cultures well. Although that is not the lens that I bring in the forefront, I think that ends up being an outcome. Again, for me, I have maybe to a fault, a relentless desire to do better, to create change, to improve. In fact, if I'm kind of just running status quo day to day, that's not going to be what motivates me. What motivates me is leaving a mark, and making things better. And I do think that it is a cultural, maybe not cultural from a broader perspective, but a cultural in my upbringing and what I had to live through, that gives me that push. My parents actually got divorced when I was 10. My dad moved back to the US, and I grew up with my mom, and I saw her take over our family business and really run it like a champ, and that's how we were able to go, me and my brothers were able to go to college, and I always admire that. I saw many others kind of fall under pressure, and feel that they can't go through that in a male dominated country, or with that kind of pressure of, how am I going to run a big business? And she took it on, and I think that has really stayed with me, as a way of not ever folding, if you will, right, and wanting to have a way to move forward.
yeah. And I think having someone that inspires you or seeing it firsthand, that drives you to know that you can do anything you want to do because you've
Yes.
seen your mother do it. So,
Yes.
oh, I love that. I love a good story like that. Now another question I have for you is really around feeling the pressure or feeling the pressure to adjust or dial down parts of your identity. How have you navigated that? Have you felt like that's been the case?
um yes. I and maybe it's not dial back my identity as much as it is mature my perspectives. Um, I have been fortunate to have incredible mentors that have given me feedback along the way in my career. And in my early career years, the feedback was not so fast, Marissa. You know, be a little more patient. Things aren't going to change right away. As I progressed in my career, maybe the feedback was, you don't have to be so intense, you don't have to be first, you don't have to be the one that immediately takes on the task and runs. Let things play out a little bit, give others a chance. And I say I am fortunate to get that feedback because many don't hear that. And what maybe helped you in early years of your career is not going to help you as a broader leader when others are going to feel like maybe you're taking too much of the spotlight, that you're not bringing your team along, that you're not putting others on the stage with you, etc. So it has been something that I have had to learn. I was definitely maybe so driven that I would not totally see that at the beginning. And now I have really embraced that and enjoy uh, the feeling of having my team really be the one that takes the credit, and letting them shine has been something that I've had to learn, and I'm still learning, to be honest.
Yeah. I find that really difficult, going from, and I'm very similar to you. I've always been told that I need to be more patient. We're working on it still. And I'm always like, I will just go, like, give me something, or I'll take a task and I'll just run with it. But I'm kind of in that, probably that stage where I'm learning to kind of shift and be, yeah, more of that kind of leader mentality, less about me and more around the team. Any advice for me on that? What can I do? What do I need to do to shift that mindset?
The best advice I can give is to be the last one to speak. It's hard because so many times you're in a situation where you feel like you may have the answer right away. You may know what the next step should be. You may know the reason something happened. Listen to others, listen to the team, um, and try not to be the first one that offers your opinion, because people look up to you, right? So if we offer our opinions first, then it skews the rest of the opinions. And I have found that when I do that, I end up hearing things that maybe I missed. And it ends up shaping the end decision or the end goal because more people had a chance to do that. And it's interesting because, what you're fighting for initially is having that voice. Then once you have the voice, it's almost like, okay, now I need to step back a little bit to hear other voices. So do to others what you wanted others to do to you from the start is, I think, a big learning, and one that I continue to work on as well.
Actually gonna put that into action. I really like it. I'll let you know how I get on, because I think that's a really good bit of advice. Yeah, we'll see. We'll give it a go. And another question I have for you is around, really focused on women, but women who are maybe from underrepresented backgrounds, who are trying to figure out, what parts of their culture or upbringing to lead with at work. Is there any advice for people within that space?
I would say don't get caught up on exactly where you're from or specific circumstances that create that difference. Dig into traits. Dig into what are the things that you bring that are special. So depending on what part of the world you came from, you may have deep empathetic traits. You may have lived through different, very hard circumstances. Your community may have needed, a stronger bond than in other areas. You may be a quick problem solver. You may be a community builder, a bridge builder between cultures. So focus on what is it that makes you different, or areas where you are shining already in either your family, in your culture, or wherever you're coming from, because it is that trait that you can bring to the business world that is going to differentiate you. So it is not per se that you are from country X or from an underrepresented culture per se. It's that you have that deeper empathy or have that deeper ability to listen that maybe others don't, or that you, again, right, are great at building communities. Well, that translates to building teams. And we need that. So honing in on that skill that makes you already great, I think is the key.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, lean into your strengths.
Yes.
Everyone has different strengths, and obviously depending on your background, you've got different things that have made you the person you are. So lean into that. Don't focus too much on the past and yes, where you're from, whatever it may be, but focus on, okay, what are the strengths that I've earned from being in these
Yes.
situations?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Okay. I like it. And you touched upon building teams there. I'm curious, how do you build high performing teams that are not only obviously technically strong, but culturally aware and emotionally intelligent as well?
Yeah, it's tough. It is probably the hardest part of the job. To me, the end goal has to be to build trust. Building trust in the team is what's going to make you successful. So, how do you do that? I always talk about being vulnerable, being genuine. People tend to see their leaders as kind of untouchable or very different than them. And when you're able to create a picture of, I'm a wife, a mother, a daughter, I also have some of the same struggles you guys may have in trying to do everything, getting kids to school or getting kids to soccer or daycare or whatever the situation may be. We're going through similar things. And I'm just doing my job like you are. And that's, I would say, number one is creating a sense of we're not that different. And sharing more of me creates a safe space for everybody to come to the table and feel like they can be themselves. That's one. The other one is motivation. And how do you motivate a team to a common goal? I would say it is really hard to do when your goal is not something that everybody can buy into. So to me, the key is, do we understand the objective? Why what we're doing is special? Why would this project help the company? What part of the company vision and goals does this particular project help? And what is our role in it? We have a special role in making the company great. And then pointing out, even through the different earnings calls or what have you, what is our part in making the company successful always makes people feel great. So both trust and I would say having a goal, a common goal that is clear to everyone is the key to that.
Going back to your point around trust and making people realize that you are also human being and have all the same issues. It's funny, when I was junior, like you say, I'd always look at more senior people as like, oh my god, like they are incredible, how did they do that? And I was just like really inspired, which is great. But like you said, it kind of was that untouchable thing. I think as I've progressed through my career, just because you are, a VP, a director, part of the C-suite, an executive, you still have your own issues and you still have things that you have to deal with all the time as well. And we are all just normal people going through life. And yeah, no one's really that different. We're
Yes.
at different stages. That's all it is.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think that plays out even when you're up on stage and you're doing big
Yeah.
presentations. I always think, the people in the audience are normal people. I don't have to be nervous. The people in the audience don't know what I'm going to be talking about, so I shouldn't be nervous about it either. So
Yeah.
it's just an interesting dynamic, yes, that to
Yeah.
kind of shift that mindset of at the end of the day, we're all humans.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to perception a lot of the time.
Hmm.
Everyone has a different perception, and that's what I've seen anyway. Is you could come across like you are the bee's knees and the most amazing person doing all these amazing things, and even if you, for example, you meet someone who's famous, half the time you're disappointed. You know,
Yeah, yes.
so I think it's pretty similar. And talking around leadership, what's one leadership habit or mindset that has served you consistently?
The desire to get feedback. I am always looking for feedback. Um, from my team, from my leaders, from my peers. Um, it is the only way we can get better. And I don't think I was so relentless about that, 20 years ago. It is definitely something that I have embraced and really taken on and maybe the last 5 years of my career. And I find it tremendously insightful. In my performance reviews with my manager, I am the parts that help you are the parts that are developmental. Someone telling me I'm doing a great job, I'm sure that feels great, but that's not going to help me grow. Hearing some specific feedback, even along the way, right? That you did great in this meeting. You needed to maybe not jump in so quickly on this other meeting. That is what I have really embraced. And sometimes it doesn't feel great. Sometimes what I hear is not what I want to hear or something that I may like, but at the end of the day, when you internalize it, you still have a choice. You have a choice to take the feedback and change, or you have a choice not to take the feedback. And that is fine. And in some areas, maybe that's the right way to go as well. But I would say take feedback, ask for feedback, give feedback in a way that is constructive. It will always help you and it will help your team as well.
Do you feel as you've progressed through your career, you get less feedback unless you ask for it? Like people aren't willing to just be like, oh, try this, do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. There's less people that are going to be giving you the feedback. I think you have to be more, certainly you have to ask for it. It doesn't come naturally. And then feedback from your own team is hard to get in a genuine way unless you depersonalize it. So some of the things I ask my team to do is we send out surveys and ask what can the leadership do differently, what more, what are the areas of the team that you believe are doing well, what would you change, what ideas do you have to make it a better culture, a better team. And I find that doing that in a non-attributable way has helped the team quite a bit.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I definitely want to start doing that. I just need to work on not taking it personally and just
Yes,
going,
that is hard.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yes.
feedback as a whole can be hard. When I was a lot more junior, I mean, every day someone was telling me, do this, try this. You're not doing this right. I've always had that. And as I progress through my career, I completely agree. It gets less and less. I've started having coaches, like business coaches outside of work as well that I find quite useful because I feel like then they're not going to be, they're not going to have opinions necessarily because they're not involved in the day to day. So that's something that I've actively sought after because I always want to have that feedback. Do you think actually, you said that you've been looking at or trying to get more feedback over the past 5 years. Have you seen the impact of it? Do you think it's like excelled your career further? How has it impacted you?
Absolutely. I think it has given me insights that I didn't have. It also has helped me because those leaders see that I want to improve, uh, that I don't want to stay, it where I'm at, that I have desires to do more. And I think that is another perspective of when different opportunities arise for leaders to know that you're up for it. That maybe without that conversation would not have come up naturally, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I mean, the things I tell you, I've also gotten feedback that I have not implemented. There was one time I was told, you don't need to raise your hand. The work that you're doing will be noticed. You just need to be quieter about that. And I just felt like, this is the opposite. This is the opposite of what we're told. I am not going to do that. I am not going to stop saying, hey, I can do this, I can do that. I just didn't think that was right. So again, right, the beauty about feedback is you still have a choice. You can take it or you can ignore it. I mean, it's really up to you.
Yeah, so obviously depending on what it is, yeah, make that call and see where it
Hmm.
sits with you. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I do think just throughout my career, or even just with working with my team, those that do ask for feedback, those are constantly that are like eager to learn. You can see that they
Yes,
have that drive, and you're like, okay, you're gonna get somewhere. You're gonna push yourself forward, and there's nothing wrong with not asking for feedback. Some people don't necessarily want feedback. That's fine if you're content with where you are, but I do see the difference between those that do ask for feedback or advice and those that don't.
agreed. Which which is an interesting thing to find, when you're kind of back to the building teams, idea. When you're hiring and you're recruiting people for your team,
Mm.
how do you find the people that have that? And it's tough to do. It's tough to do because the resume doesn't say that. The resume just talks about the work. So it is something that has to be sensed, I guess, through
Mhm.
conversation and through
Yeah.
questions. And I usually ask a question in an interview of what are your areas of development? And it's super interesting to hear the perspective because you're in an interview, so the person may be not be willing to say, well, I still need to work on listening or whatever the case is. But at the end, we all have development to do. None of us are perfect. And it has been a really, really insightful question that I've incorporated really in all the interviews that I do to understand a little bit more about the person's motivations, about
Mhm.
their self awareness, and their willingness to say, well, I have this, but I'm still working on it, or whatever the case may be, which has been great.
It would be interesting if people knew what their development topics are, and if they don't,
Yeah.
then you can sometimes question that, and that can, like you say, come down to self-awareness, which then leads into emotional intelligence, and then we're just going back around in this circle again that everyone's talking about. If you can build those areas, then yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully the rest of it comes.
Yeah. Agreed.
You mentioned earlier, you said that you wanted to build a legacy. So I want to ask you, what does legacy mean to you today?
It is about the people. I mentioned great mentors that I've had in my career. There have been people that have really left a mark, that have noticed me, that have taken a chance on me, that have given me an opportunity, that have put me on stage. I want to do the same. I want to be able to come up in conversation, not because of what I did in a project, but because of how I helped others. Hearing my team members say, I learned this from Marissa, or she pushed me here, or even as they move on, to other opportunities in their career, for them to feel that I left a mark in how they lead and how they work and how they push themselves. That to me is the best legacy, and I hope to be able to influence even more people as I go forward.
That's such a nice feeling. And definitely, I've had some amazing people in my career that have helped me get to where I am. And you don't forget about them. The great thing is half of them I can call if I need anything and
Yes.
I have that
Yes.
relationship. So to be that person would feel so special. So yeah, I love that. Do you think it's changed actually? Do you think from say 10 years ago, what you thought legacy was has changed to now?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. If you would have asked me this 10 years ago, I would have probably said, leave a mark in Booz Allen specifically, transform the business from A to B, be part of a large, change to the business. And all of that is great. And I value it. And it is, they are all trophies in my bag, if you want, if we can say that. But that is not the legacy. Those are successes and learnings that I've had along the way, but to really give it back is where I think the true legacy lies, and being able to grow others and to have others learn from you and not make some of the same mistakes and help them accelerate their career is really, really important now, that I don't think I would have necessarily noticed it 10 years ago as I was really running.
Yeah. I'm probably the same as you. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, it probably would have been more down to like successes for me. I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to earn £1 million, $1 million. I want to, you know, be at the top of my game. I want to be the best person in this. And it was very selfish. And then I think as you progress through your career, you start realizing these things and you have a long life, right? It's great to sit there and say you want all of these successes, but I don't think it necessarily fulfills me. So for me, I've shifted into, okay, what can I give to other people? I'm in this situation where I've got this platform that I can hopefully share stories that are going to inspire people, and I want to build teams, and I've gone through, I suppose, so much throughout my career, my life, where it's like I've made so many, not mistakes, but I've learned a lot. And if I can help someone else get to where I am quicker, I will do that, because I wish I had that when I was 18, 19, 20. If someone told me, "Oh, if you do this, 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 you'll get to X," I just trying to give someone that support that I always wish I had, basically.
Yes, exactly, exactly. It's just it's a wonderful feeling once you start to actually see it. Maybe you were doing that along the way and you weren't stopping to
Yeah,
actually realize it.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that is true. And now we have a closing tradition on this podcast. So our closing question is, what is one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
It's a hard one to admit. I guess it goes a little bit against my grain, but I would tell myself, maybe find a way to force myself to slow down a little bit, slow down to enjoy the journey. It doesn't have to be so rushed, so fast, so intense that once you have a little bit of a pause, you look back and you may not even realize that you've missed parts of the journey. Um, so it would be that. It would, kind of the saying of stop to smell the roses, like really, really resonates to me now. My kids now are 21 and 19 and they're in college. And I start to think about, wow, like all the years of daycare and school and soccer and the years that felt like I couldn't keep up with work, life, home, all the responsibilities. And now the boys are gone, and I don't get to see them as much. And I do feel like I missed out a little bit. I don't think it would have actually changed my career if I would have just had a little bit of a different perspective of my mind, and I don't have to be so consumed with work and the intensity and the desire to get ahead. If I dialed it back just a little bit and stopped to enjoy the time with family a little more, I think I would not have that feeling of like, man, they're they're gone. And now I'm starting to change that perspective. And they were just here for the summer. And I really made it a point to leave work at work. When I walk into the house, even if the day was intense, to not bring it in, to really just have a good time with them and listen to what they're going through, and slow down a bit. It has been a good feeling, but I did not do it for many years. It has really been something very recent. So if I had a way of convincing myself, which I don't know if I would have, right? But that's what I would tell myself.
Yeah. I think we give ourselves like time frames, and we set goals, and we
Yes.
seem to be, yeah, always like, what's next, what's next, what's next. And like you
Yes.
say, sometimes you just got to slow down and enjoy the journey and appreciate everything that's going on around you. And I'm the same with work. I'm like, right, I need to do this right now. Oh my, right, I'm going to work till 8, 9 o'clock. I've got to make this
Yes.
happen. And then the next day, I've done all this work, I've sent it out, and whoever I've sent it to, for example, will be like, I'll come back to you next week on this. I'm like, great. I could have left it till the next day. So it's gonna be there. Work's gonna be there. Obviously for some stuff, depending on the industry you're in, recruitment can be very fast paced on the agency side.
Yes.
So that's something obviously that I've seen. But yeah, I agree to slow down. I'm trying to do that. It's really hard though.
It's very hard. And the
Mm,
reality is, I mean, slow down, you can't like totally slow down all the time. Like you said, right? You're still competing, you're still pushing, you still have goals, and all of that should stay. It's maybe just the intensity of the day to day. Not every day has to be at 100% intensity. Um, there are times, right? There's a time for everything. There are times when you're going to need to be 100% and work through weekends, nights, etc., because that is what's needed. And there are times when that's not needed. And to be able to recognize that, And likewise on the family life, there are times and moments that really matter, that you have to make space for, not just to show up at your kid's graduation or whatever it is, but to actually mentally be there and really embrace the moment and leave whatever else is consuming your mind, leave it on the side a little bit. It's hard. And I think it only comes with time. But that I wish we learned that earlier.
Yeah. And I think running at like 100% all the time, it's not sustainable.
Yep. Agreed.
So, yeah, we got to work on that. But I love this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was great chatting to you. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Me too. Me too. Thank you for having me. This has been a wonderful experience, and look forward to talking to you at a different time too.